Hi, Dom from the MS Guide. Thanks for joining me. Charities form an important part of the MS landscape, whatever country you're in. Today, we're going to speak to somebody from one of the smaller UK charities called Diana, and she's from MS UK. And we're going to talk about what makes MS UK different, because all the charities have sort of slightly different angles, shall we say. And we will investigate that, and we will talk about what MS UK does for the MSers in the UK. I'm sure many of you could also email questions if you had them from overseas. The channel is a community resource. It relies on your support. I'm not going to bang on about it, but I really, really appreciate it if you could subscribe, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on the, what am I trying to say? The podcast apps. You can get this on all your sort of favorite podcast apps. And there is a Patreon for the channel, because I'm not going to have the channel funded by sort of big drug companies or things like that. It's a patient-to-patient resource. So if you can help me out, all the details are below. Anyway, on with the interview. Hi, Diana. Thanks very much for joining us. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and MS UK as well?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me, inviting me onto the podcast. So I'm Diana. I'm Head of Services at MS UK. We are a national charity supporting anyone affected by multiple sclerosis. And we're there to support anyone to live a healthier and happier lives. And we do that by providing quality information and providing support where it's needed the most. So we do that through our national helpline, through our online activities, and through our new Pathways magazine and our training. So we do training for professionals, and we are very much community led. So we involve people with MS in everything that we do, which is really important for us. We won't talk about anything that the MS community hasn't asked us to talk about. And I think the beauty of us as an organisation is that we are one of the smaller MS charities, so people can really get to know us, whether it's through accessing our services, they get to know the person that's on the end of the phone, or whether they're fundraising for us. We are very proud of how we kind of get to know the people that support us as an organisation, and we pride ourselves on our activities that are accessible. Our fundraising activities are a lot of the events are virtual, so people can do things that they want to do. So yeah, we are here for those affected by MS, whether that's someone who has been living with MS for a long time, whether that's someone who's going through a diagnosis, or someone who has a family member or a friend who is living with MS. Yeah. So, we are here for anyone that's involved. Happy to help.
I got in touch. I've had MS 31 years, and you sort of see the charity landscape. And you guys, to me, are one of the four what I would call national charities. But I often think sometimes MS UK is overlooked, and everybody, in charities, and you never find a charity where somebody's going, oh, I don't really care. The reason people are working in charities and doing stuff is because they care. Tell us more about your Pathways magazine, because I've looked at that and thought, crikey, that's really quite detailed and in depth. And how many times a year does Pathways come out?
So New Pathways is a bi-monthly magazine, so that 6 issues a year, and that contains all the most recent news and information about research, and also we have our regular features, but we also have again, what we pride ourselves on is a lot of real life stories, people sharing their experiences, sharing what's worked for them, and
I have a confession. I've been asked to write something for Pathways, and I just went, I'm so busy. It's just, so yeah, I know, but I mean, that was the whole thing, was they came to, so they didn't just go, we're going to tell you about, it's a very sort of thing you get as an MS patient. Somebody's going to tell you about your condition. You're like, thank you very much. I'm pretty up with the fact that I've got MS, and it can be like that. Pathways is subscription, isn't it?
It
I mean,
is. It is. Yeah.
you pay for a Pathway subscription, but then I always say, you know, you get what you pay for. If you pay nothing, you probably don't get much. It's it's worthwhile because it's got these sort of quality articles in it, hasn't it?
Yeah. And as you will know, everyone's journey with MS is different, and therefore, it's really important that we share different people's experiences of living with MS, because it might just help that one person who's going through the same thing, and that's really important. And I know when we had our editor join a few years back, and they were genuinely pleased that the letters that we received were real letters. Like, people actually do write to us, and they do, and we do.
I think what some people forget is sometimes, and I've known this in the national press, somebody who wrote for one of the large dailies, occasionally they have to write the letters to themselves, because they want to address a topic, that's their agenda, and so therefore they need the letter. And I read Private Eye a lot, and they rip off that whole sort of thing and kind of pretend, Sir Bufton Tufton has written a letter, and he's very upset about the potholes, and you know what I mean. And it's, but yeah, it's genuine. I think that's the main thing, isn't it? It's genuine.
It is genuine, and people, who receive that magazine, a lot of them have been receiving it for a long time. I mean, interestingly, you say that you've had MS for 31 years. So, well, that's how long we have been here as an organisation. So we share our, our best.
Yeah, yeah, it's also, I think MS is not only different, but I'd say one thing that I find difficult, because I started the channel 3 years ago anyway, people ask me for advice in the way that, not what's my experience, which is what you're doing, but people want to say, well, if that works for you, that will work for me. And it's really difficult because you're trying to tread around it, because I'm not you, and everybody's different with MS. It's not like you could say, for broken legs, there's probably a degree of, a limited amount of ways of treating broken legs, or the way that broken legs affect people, should we say. But MS is just, it's a smart person's disease, I've decided. It's far more complex than just a broken leg, and that's probably going to upset everybody's, orthopedic surgeons. But then, it's difficult, isn't it? So it's good to see a wide range of things, is what I mean, because what Dom thinks is not necessarily, or what works for me is not necessarily going to work for you. Or the reason I did something is not going to be the best reason for you to do something.
Absolutely. And it's and there's nothing, as I said earlier, there's nothing we won't talk about. So we are an independent organisation. We don't take any pharmaceutical funding. So
okay, so that makes you different. That's really makes you stand out, I would say. I mean, nor do I. But then that means nobody is could ever be accused of having their chain pulled if they haven't got it to start with, So.
Exactly. And that's really important for us. And that's something that we revisited with our MS community last year when we were reviewing our strategy. Okay. It was really important for us that we revisited that, because, it's historically something, a decision that was made. And we wanted to check in with our MS community and make sure that was still the case, and it was, and it really resonated deeply with some of our supporters. And so we felt that we had to continue with that approach.
Objectively,
it enables us to talk freely about all treatment.
Yeah.
And it's important that, people do find out what works best for them, not just these modifying therapies, but complementary therapies as well, that can work together side by side.
For sure. I mean, objectively, I don't think there's anything wrong. And these days, the laws are so tight, it would be very hard, shall we say. And I think it would be unfair to a pharmaceutical company to say they are pulling the levers behind the scenes. But the fact remains that people are more comfortable many times just knowing that is not a thing. It's a bit like political donations. And there's certain political parties now where, faced with possibly handing back to, you know what I mean? It introduces this conundrum and this doubt and all this. And, if it's not there, it can't be an issue. It is, I was, police officer, show me your hands. Well, if you won't show me your hands, now I'm really, really concerned, because what's the problem with showing me your hands? You know what I mean? It's that kind of, a simple analogy, but yeah, it allows you to discuss that things. The other thing I think, stem cells, they're not for everybody, but they're a thing and you can't get over them. But there's no money in stem cells for drug companies, none whatsoever. The drugs used are generic drugs, and so therefore, I think, and this is a personal thing, drug companies don't even want it discussed. And I think it's one of the things that just, amongst all the other things, whether or not you want to swallow vast quantities of turmeric or, talk about stem cells, it shouldn't be feeling that you can't or shouldn't, or you know what I mean? Or the charity shouldn't be thinking, gosh, do we kind of like steer this conversation the other way? And so, I mean, it's that kind of thing where I think that's a valid therapy, yet I wouldn't say it always gets possibly the coverage or attention it's entitled to. I don't know if you guys even talk about it, or customer, yeah, no, okay, but you know what I mean. I've got to confess, I am rubbish. I don't engage with MS UK, with the MS Society, with the MS Trust, with Shift MS, in terms of, I've had it for so long, it's kind of like, most of the things I've found out that I needed to already. I'm always trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody going, oh crap, what has the doctor just told me? Because just trying to remember, it was so long ago. And also, I don't know, blokes are a bit like, oh yeah, when you're a young bloke, you're hard to break, so it's just like, whatever, moving on, and until it actually starts to affect you, it's not really a thing. It's
No.
but again, that's the thing I think needs to be recognized, is young men with the condition will approach it completely differently to young women.
Yeah, of course. We have a peer support service where people can come together and provide support to each other, and we have ones for a peer pod for people that are newly diagnosed, for women and men, although we found that actually we've had to put that on hold for now because men weren't coming, and so we were only talking about it yesterday, and we need to think about a new approach for how we engage, because they reach out and say they want the help, they want the support, and they want to talk to other men in their same situation or similar situation, but they're not turning up to actually engage with that. So we're currently sort of rethinking about what do we need to do differently, because we know there's a need there for men to support each other and open up.
It's interesting you say that, and because a friend that I went to school with, she has a nasty brain tumor, and her husband with his friend, because they were ended up, and this is down in the southeast, Crawley, I think, starting not for MS, but just a general men's support group, and this was even for the just, when your partner's going through something, or you are. But yeah, it would be interesting to, I don't know much about it, but I will certainly, once we finish recording this podcast, Diana, I'll share that with you, because it may be something around. By the way, everybody, all the links for the MS UK website, all the stuff that Diana's spoken about, anything I may mention, I'll put it all in the description below. So it'll either be in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast, or it will be in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. Because, hey, I always wonder why people want to watch two heads talking. It's never going to be a Mr. Beast YouTube channel, is it? It's like doing something amazing with my MS drug, as I swing my way onto the infusion. But it's Yeah, well, it's somebody said you've got to make it exciting, and I went, There isn't very much exciting about MS. I have to say, I can try and make it interesting, but the excitement thing, kind of no." And so MS UK, can you get the magazine online? Can you subscribe online? Does it only come in a print copy? Because different people want it in different ways, don't they?
Yeah, we have an audio version of it, so we have a
Oh,
CD,
okay, yeah,
old-fashioned CD, and we have PDF version. If people want to have a
right,
digital
right.
version, we can
But
send that out.
audio, I see. I
But yeah,
didn't even think of that, Diana. It's just,
mm,
but yeah, it's So if your eyesight's struggling, you want to listen to it like a podcast, for
yeah.
example, you can listen. So you can get a CD. Can you also get the just like the I don't know the WAV file or whatever, the audio file, and the way you can get a PDF? Or are you going to look at that for something in the future?
Yeah, that might be something for the
Right.
future. But we also have our own podcast as well. I haven't mentioned that. And seeing as
Hmm.
I'm being interviewed on a podcast, I can talk
Well,
about our own.
I think you should. I mean, it's just does it cover specific topics, or is it, what drives the
Yeah.
content, shall we say?
So it's called Let's Talk MS,
Hmm.
and it's Ian Cook, he's been one of our columnists in New Pathways for many years. He hosts
Right.
it. So there's been I think our first guest was the Ice Man Wim Hof.
Ah.
So
I'm
and he
such a
talks,
coward. That looks horrendous.
and we've had various other people speaking. I can't remember them off the top of my head, I'm afraid. But I think we've had
Oh
MS
no,
nurses, we've had other people talking, and it's been really,
sure,
people with MS talking about their experiences, and it's
yeah.
been really, really good. And it's something that we haven't tried before, but all the episodes are up there at the moment. So yeah,
Oh,
people can
cool.
tune in and have a listen as well.
Yeah, my wife looked at me and said,
Another
"Everyone's got a
way
podcast." Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I'm really sorry, but this is what I do. Yeah, but yeah. So,
Well,
okay.
but a lot of people
Hmm,
like to engage in that
yeah.
way now, don't they?
What I'd say as a patient is it's almost like different foods. Some people like food A and some people like food B. So I would encourage you guys to go and check out MSUK, because you may find that that's the one that you like the best. I wouldn't say it's a case of better or worse. It's just a case of, like you said, it's very personal. I mean, I rang up and the guy went, "I spoke to you last time." And I went, "Yeah." And I thought, "Oh, okay, so it's not a massive office." And it was, yeah, quite a lot of people who work there have got MS. I think more than many other charities, to be fair. So it's you guys seem to have my experience, my unscientific experience is more people with MS work at MSUK. I might be wrong, but that's certainly what I thought. But yeah, and it's
Yeah,
kind of nice to know you're speaking to somebody else who, if I tried to explain to somebody how my toes feel dead, it's a lot of effort as opposed to another MS who goes, "Yeah, I know," and it's like, okay,
mm,
yeah, tick, moving on. So
absolutely. And we have a real online community as well through our online activities.
right,
So people come to us and
cool,
participate in exercise, chair yoga, guided meditation, qigong. And we do these incredible information sessions where people, there's a real hunger for knowledge
yeah,
within the MS community. And like, for example, tomorrow we're delivering an information session about complementary therapies.
right.
We've done sessions on diet and nutrition, really, really popular
You
subjects,
say tomorrow
that
if anyone's,
always
yeah, yeah.
you can take away something
Yeah,
from those sessions and make changes to their
exactly. I
lives.
mean, I always find I sort of watch and do all kinds of things, but it was that one little bit here sticks and one little bit there sticks, and it's a bit like the finding the favorite bit of food that you like. But it's just
Yeah.
that every what's that ad? Every little bit helps. Is that Asda or something where the woman's patting her bum? And
It
with
might be.
but with the change, it's like, oh gosh, I don't know. I don't watch enough telly. I'm just spend my life doing things like this. So it's well, and I always get diverted, frankly, with YouTube. If I have my lunch, I end up sitting down watching something on YouTube because it's just at my desk. I'm thinking, God, I'm really pathetic. I need to get up and read a book. Yeah, but look, Diana, I really appreciate you coming on and telling us a bit about MSUK. And like I said, everyone, the links are in the bottom, show notes, description.
Yeah.
So if you want to go check out the charity, last quick question: if somebody was to email a question and they didn't live in the UK, I'm presuming that you guys would engage and answer it.
100%, and we do get that. We do
Right.
get that. Our helpline. I speak to people from
Really?
all around the world.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
even talking to people, that's cool. No, I didn't know. I didn't want to make a rod for your own back by going, hey, anyone can call.
Yeah, no, we have people who receive new pathways overseas,
Right.
and people who access our online
Right.
activities. We know that sort of, join us from around the UK, and all of our online activities are recorded. So even if people live in
Right.
different time zones, they can go back and watch the information session or do the exercise class at a time that's convenient to them.
Right.
So, it's very accessible
Awesome.
around the world.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of, the internet makes you around the world, doesn't it? So it's, yeah. But,
Absolutely.
hey, Diana, look, you have a lovely day. I know you're busy, and thanks very much for taking the time out to talk to me about MSUK. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. It's been really, really interesting, and I appreciate, joining you today. Thank you.
Brilliant. Bye-bye.